Glow Season 2 review. This is a Netflix original series which consists of 10 episodes. It directly continues the events of the first season for the gorgeous ladies of wrestling. This time around, the crew is actually taping their first season. The first season was all about basically them kind of getting together, meeting the team, getting the production rolling, securing everything, set-wise and stuff. This is actually their second Netflix season, but in the show, this is their first official season where they're going to be on the local television, kind of being showcased and broadcast at the area, and the struggles that go along with that. So we have really a split here. We have the core group of ladies and all of their drama and problems, and then to the side of that we have kind of the behind the scenes, like, the involvement of the production, how they're dealing with the companies, their sponsors, creating their wrestling set and area, directing the episodes, and so forth. So it kind of splits the group, but we still see a lot of the ensemble the entire time while we are watching. But it does dig a little bit more into some of the side characters that maybe didn't get much development last time. So it very much fleshes out all the characters. We still get a key focus on the core group, basically. The director, and again, Ruth is basically the centerpiece in this season and series in general. I found that's Alison Brie plays that role, and we kind of get to see more of her struggles and problems dealing with others and getting pushed around and kind of becoming more of a stronger individual this time around, while still trying to be happy and cheery like she usually is, but kind of difficult in show business. So that aside, then we also have Miss Liberty, kind of being a key player. I'd say it really centers around that core group and their problems. But again, we're getting really a mix in episodes. We get their stories kind of going along, but we also get a look at the side characters, the other ladies, and their roles and their dynamics, and we get to see their relationships grow with each other. And maybe some new interactions as well, kind of throughout. Not maybe, they do, but you get that sense of characters kind of going with new people that they weren't really with in the past, and sort of the dynamics and comedy that plays with that. So this is very much still like a dramatic style original show, but it is focused on comedy, so there's a lot of fun and enjoyment in it. They do a really good job of keeping things entertaining throughout the entire season. Again, it's only 10 episodes, so the pacing is actually really good. I did find that there was one kind of like bottled episode that was just sort of random. It makes sense because of the lead into it, but it was still a very weird episode. It's kind of like an all-out musicals, random, weird show style episode, kind of at a point where it's like whatever, and I felt that kind of took away from everything else that was happening, because it was very dramatic, very intense. They're racing against the clock to get things rolling, and then all of a sudden we're having fun with everyone. Cool episode, good songs, and fun little skits, but I don't know, it just kind of felt out of place at the point it was, when it was sorted into the episodes. I was just like, okay, whatever, don't really care, kind of want to get back to the story, but it was cool, it was neat, and I did enjoy that one. Basically, we have the group coming together finally for this taping. It's exciting. Then they're dealing with contracts, and then they're dealing with, you got to keep your sponsors going, and you got to keep everyone engaged, and you got to kind of figure things out. They're very much a on-the-fly sort of company, where they're just trying to figure things out as the problems arise, and then moving forward with that. We get some power shift dynamics, and we get to further see how bad some characters can be under the certain circumstances that come across them. We also get some more kind of, because it is a timepiece, back in the day, and it's trying to capture that era very well. So we get some more separate storylines that sort of, really capture that era, and I did enjoy that. And the look is, of course, very stylized to that, and I think it looks quite good. And you still get the cuts where it's like the VHS style 480 kind of quality. And yeah, so that was really well done. I did find that some aspects of the show were a bit predictable, in the sense that there was like some striking moments that happened, but the whole time before that I was like, no, this is what's going to happen. And then it did happen, but it was still like very impactful, very emotional. So the delivery is good. It's just like I could see some parts sort of coming, and it definitely seems like the show has a sense of progression planned, in that they know where they're going as far as like season over season. And this was a very interesting change. I didn't anticipate what exactly was going to happen by the end of everything, and that was surprising. I did not see it coming. Very interesting. I love the cast. I think they work well together. They're funny. They have a good time. The music is kicking, and you really do get that weird old vibe to it that's really really pleasing and really interesting looking. So as we continue, 10 episodes, they're spread out well. Every one of them does something different as far as carrying the plot forward, while also splitting off, like I mentioned, to the various groups, and you get a good balance of that throughout each of the episodes. It's not just one episode will be heavily focused. You'll have other people doing things and not just being sidelined, which is nice. I felt that the strongest moments are when the ensemble is together, but I do love the dynamics between the separate kind of characters when they are interacting. The cast does kind of change a little bit in this one. There's an early sort of firing that goes on, and then basically we get some more members coming in terms of the crew, not really the core group. Oh, and we do get a replacement too, which is kind of fun. And it does fit in relatively well. So we kind of went over, Ruth and her problems and stuff, but there's also Sam, and he had an interesting storyline this season too, because he's dealing with his daughter that was kind of introduced. I don't think that's a spoiler because it happened at the end of the last season. It came into play, and now she's kind of there, and you also get that like teenage Angus kind of problem where she's not really listening, very rebellious, and you get to see him sort of grow while not growing at all. Like, he doesn't care, but he's kind of like growing up finally, and he's dealing with that problem at home and on the set. It's actually, I really like her character, and hopefully we get to see more of the daughter in the future. The kind of interesting things they did with that. To the side of that, we have Liberty with kind of dealing with her, child, and being a mother that's single and divorcing and working on the show and having to deal with all the problems involved with that. So that was sort of the third core dynamic of the group, and they all filter in together. She has some wild stuff. I'm not really a huge fan of that particular character. I find that she sort of is away from the group in the sense that her storylines aren't directly impacting the rest. So when something happens to Ruth, something happens with Sam, that kind of filters back into the core group. There's all their problems sort of have this fallout on the rest of the team, whereas hers are just complete standalone. They don't really affect the show or the life of that. They affect her mood, which in turn affects the show, but it's sort of spread out in the sense that it's not directly having an impact. So the storylines aren't quite as important, but they do add a sort of break in between things to kind of take you away from what's going on. You'll either like that or you won't. Personally, I'm not a fan of it, just because, who cares about her problems, but I guess it's adding more of a dynamic to it. You also get to see some character changes in the smaller groups. They try to do some fun ways of evolving their characters, because some of the casting roles were not their favorites, so that's sort of fun to see play out in a comedic bit. And also them dealing with fans and so forth is very interesting. You really get that sense of, especially in this time recently, when all these shows have been trying to continue and keep going and so forth, you kind of really get a good look at the struggles behind that back in that time though. And there's an episode that focuses around it, and it's really well done. I hope I'm not particularly spoiling anything. I think I'm lightly touching upon episodes and kind of getting into them a bit more without actually going over any of the plot and so forth. Just kind of setting up the dynamics that are at play with the group of ladies, the gorgeous ladies of wrestling in Glow. And yeah, I hope that kind of gives you an idea of what the second season is. If you like the first, it's good. If you haven't watched it, it's definitely worth checking out. It's an enjoyable show, funny, good dramatic elements. A little bit predictable this season, still well done though. I think it comes together in a very interesting way. I'd give it a 7.7 out of 10. I had some issues, but for the most part it's enjoyable. Pacing is well handled, and the acting is fantastic. It's fun and just a sort of wild, weird show. And you can read my full review in the description below.